Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining this info session for AgentX-AgentBeats competition in conjunction with the Agentic AI MOOC, the massive open online course. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Yes, my name is Dang Song. I'm a professor in computer science at UC Berkeley and also a co-director of a campus-wide center called Berkeley Center for Responsible Decentralized Intelligence, RDI. And RDI is hosting both the Agentic AI MOOC and also this Agent Beats competition. So first, we'll give some quick overview of why we are doing this competition, and then we'll go into more details about what you need to do for the competition and more information and so on. So first, the competition focuses on agent evaluation. So first, what is evaluation for AI models and agents? So these evaluations are essentially systematic, repeatable measurements built using these benchmarks that provides a structured way to measure different aspects for models and agents. This includes different types of capabilities as well as risk assessment as well. So why are we doing a competition on agent evaluation? Because actually agent evaluation is really important. Agent evaluation is important for a number of reasons. It provides important measurements for across models and agents for both capabilities and risk assessment. And it guides safe and effective development as well as deployment decisions and helps expose both weaknesses and strengths and help compare different models and agents as well to help make the best decision in terms of how to both improve models and agents as well as how to choose the best model and agents to deploy for real world applications as well. And hence, reliable and high quality evaluation of models and agents is critical for develop and deploy effective and safe agents in real world applications. And also, a really important part about evaluation is that evaluations essentially help set the goalposts for the community for developing better AI models and agents. There's a saying, you can only improve what you can measure. And essentially, AI's revolution is upper bounded by evaluation. And also, right, we have seen essentially the history of AI development essentially has been marked by the different types of evaluations um, and so on. So one thing I want to mention here is uh, so far, actually, when you look at the community, most of the evaluation has been focused on the model evaluation. However, as we develop agents, just evaluation that just focus on at the model level is insufficient. So essentially, we need to transition from model evaluation to agent evaluation as we now move to develop agents and also to perform evaluations for agents. So there are a number of key differences between model evaluations and agent evaluations. So for models, for example, these large language models, they are static and they can be right. They are oftentimes just text to text and they can be multimodal as well. But in general, these model evaluations focuses on just providing prompt inputs and evaluates the output of the model. And it's relatively, in this case, it's relatively straightforward to do the evaluation given the benchmark. But however, when we look at agent evaluation, it's much more complex. As we have discussed in the Agentic AI MOOC, the overall Agentic AI system can be very complex. They do use the model as a key component to, and then they use the model to do there's planning, to use and reasoning and so on. And also, agentic AI systems have memory storage as well. And agents operate in dynamic environments. Um, and all these factors essentially require more complex evaluations when we do agent evaluation than just a simple model evaluation. So now, since as I mentioned, most previous approaches actually focus on model evaluation, and as agent benchmarks have been developed, actually most of the existing agent benchmarks still carry the same paradigm that they are actually these evaluations are LM-centric design and with fixed harnesses. So essentially, most of today's agent benchmarks, I would say they have the wrong separation points where they actually combine the benchmark with fixed harnesses and only expose the model, the interface between the model and the agent benchmark. And hence, in this case, one can easily evaluate with the same fixed harness the benchmark evaluation across different models, but it's actually very difficult when you want to evaluate different agents with different harnesses. And hence, in this case, when one want to evaluate a new agent on today's existing agent benchmarks, there's a high integration overhead. One has to figure out for each new agent how to do the integration with the current agent benchmarks. And also this causes an issue with the test production mismatch, where uh, one has to often change the production agent to adapt to the testing benchmark. So you actually may not be able to actually evaluate the production agents as is. So these are some examples of the key limitations of existing agent benchmarks. As you can see, in order to evaluate agents with different benchmarks, you would, if you have M benchmarks, oftentimes you have to do M integration adaptation to integrate and adapt these agents to the M different benchmarks. And if you have N different agents, essentially you have this multiplication M by M, the integration efforts. So this motivated us to develop a new paradigm that we call agentified agent assessment, AAA. And this serves as a new paradigm for open, reproducible, and standardized agent evaluation. And in particular, the key point of agentified agent assessment paradigm is that we enable what we call agentified evaluation, where the benchmark evaluation itself, the assessor, is actually an agent itself. And this assessor agent will then directly communicate with the assessee agent, the agent that actually needs to be evaluated, through standardized protocols such as A2A. And also we use MCP, a standard protocol for tool use in this new paradigm as well. So using this approach, we enable standardization utilizing the existing standards such as A2A and MCP. And also we enable reproducibility by utilizing an assessment control protocol that controls for the setup and the environments for the agent evaluation. And in this case, one way to think about it is this new agentified agent assessment paradigm enables the key separation and the right interface separation between the evaluation benchmark and the agents. So with this approach, it's very easy to bring your existing agents and then to just be evaluated by the assessor agent that we actually call green agent in the computation. And the And the SSE agents, that currently we call the purple agents in the AgentBeats competition. We so again, this enables the SSE agent to easily run, be evaluated, and also this enables different harnesses and different models easily to be evaluated. And when compared to traditional agent benchmarking, this agentified agent assessment paradigm has a number of advantages. In a traditional agent benchmarking, is again primarily focused on LMs with fixed harnesses, whereas with the AAA paradigm, any agent conforming to the A2A protocol can be evaluated by the assessor agent. And in the traditional agent benchmarking, it provides benchmark-specific and implementation-dependent interface, whereas in the AAA paradigm, it provides standardized A2A interface for task management and MCP for tool use and tool access. And in the traditional agent benchmarking, it's prone to task production mismatch, as I mentioned earlier, and it's mainly used for reference, whereas in the AAA paradigm, it directly reflects production level performance using this evaluation paradigm. And for multi-agent assessments, in the traditional agent benchmarking, it's actually very difficult and requires bespoke integrations, whereas the AAA methods, it natively supports multi-agent assessment through standardized interfaces and platform-level coordination. So it's actually provided and enabled natively. And so these are the advantages and the motivation for providing this new paradigm of agentified agent assessment. And in addition to this paradigm and the issues addressed by this new paradigm, there are also additional obstacles for building impactful agent evaluation. As the overall system implementation can be complex, requiring integrating of multiple LMs, navigate diverse agent frameworks, manage observability, environment setup, and infrastructure for agent deployment, monitoring, and leaderboard management. And also overall, there's a lack of openness and there's a lot of fragmentation. Currently, there's no unified platform that can transform research prototypes into widely accessible, reusable evaluations. So this essentially motivates our new open platform, AgentBeats, for open, standardized, and reproducible agent evaluation and risk assessment, which Xiaoyuan will discuss more details.
Sure. So here, I'm very happy to introduce you our current ongoing effort for building this AgentBeats platform. Essentially, it's a platform complying to the AAA standard that we just mentioned. And the goal is to build, again, the standardized, open, and also reproducible platform that satisfies our previous assessment-related requirement. And for standardization, in addition to using A2A and MCP, we'll also provide a unified SDK as well as a consistent workflow for managing agent assessment and also agent instantiation. Also targeting openness, we plan to use the platform for publishing public agent, maintaining benchmark, and also provide a set of the hosted environment for open evaluation. In terms of reproducibility, we support a new control protocol that allows the auto reset of the environment and also allow the hosts to run hosted runs of agents. And while the assessment is ongoing, we also enable multi-level trace logging for better observability. And the platform is easy to use. Essentially, you can use one file to instantiate a new agent. And also there will be both on-platform and self-hosted options just in case someone wants to host private computations. And to just make the platform more extensible, we also support rich integrations of different types of agent as well as different types of scenarios. And below, you can see a general workflow for how AgentBeats SDK, as well as like the AgentBeats platform service, can simplify the overall development and evaluation of agentic systems. And the platform is targeting the use case for evaluating the agents and also letting different agents to compete on the comparable tasks. It also encourage contributing new environment and benchmarks, allow people to collaborate using like agents developed by others, and also let the agent improve. We support mainly two types of evaluation mode. One is the benchmarking mode for a single agent. It's best for having like a unified scoring and leaderboard for like a single agent task. We also have like a arena mode, which basically means that you might have like multiple agents joining the same assessment. And based on the type of the assessment, either it's like a one-on-one or it's more of like a multi-agent sort of team fight style of evaluation. There might be different ways of assigning score, and this is best for adversarial multi-agent evaluation or collaborative competitions. And just as a general concept walkthrough, any A2A compatible agents would be also compatible to the AgentBeats platform, as long as they support the basic task fulfilling, tool using, and optionally memory and other component. There are in general like two types of agent, the assessor agent and the SSE agent as introduced earlier. Just for a quick example, imagine that you have a chess game between a GPT-4o agent and also a GPT-5 agent. Then these two agents will be your SSE agent, while the agent who actually judge the board will be your assessor agent. And we organize the evaluation in the format of assessment. Each assessment would be a multi-agent procedure between one of the assessor agent and the other agents. Each assessment will reflect one or more matrix of all the participating or assessee agents, reflecting on their score change on the leaderboard. And also, the assessor agent is responsible for reporting the final result to the platform in the end. So the platform itself provides a basic feature of agent registry for people to discover new agents. It also provides an agent controller for the state task state management, as we'll be also introducing later. It also provides a feature for assessment kickoff to orchestrate the collaboration procedure between different agents for getting the assessment result. And there are also extended features and a way of using it for assessment tracing, leaderboard, proxying the MCP calls for access control, agent hosting, etc., etc. And we'll be releasing more details in the future blogs.
Yeah, thanks, Xiaoyan. So, and we welcome everyone in the community to join this AgentX-AgentBeats competition in conjunction with the Agentic AI MOOC. And we are very honored and grateful to have the sponsors provide. We have over $1 million in prizes and resources thanks to the different sponsors here. And we hope that the community and the participants can join the competition to both actually help together build public goods for agent evaluation and also be a great learning experience for everyone. So now let's talk a little bit about the detailed logistics for the AgentBeats competition. So for the competition, there will be two phases. The first phase that is going on currently is to focus on building the assessor agents, and also called the green agents here. So in particular for phase one, the participants will be building these assessor green agents that actually define the assessments and automate the scoring. And in particular here, we have several different tracks and different contribution types. So first, let's talk about the contribution type. The uh, so one type is to actually port or identify and extend an existing benchmark. So the goal here is to transform an existing benchmark into a green agent that actually runs end-to-end on AgentBeats. And on the AgentBeats competition website, here you can also see more examples of benchmark ideas that actually list out a number of example existing benchmarks that you can go identify and extend. So that's one contribution type. Another contribution type is to create a new benchmark. In this case, it's to design a brand new assessment as a green agent with novel tasks, environments, automation, and scoring. And we in particular welcome participants to develop new assessments in diverse domains that are have sufficient difficulty levels and also are realistic. In particular, for example, you can take your model after your even daily workload and so on, and develop these new assessments as green agents to to evaluate agent capabilities, in particular in domains that you are familiar with. And also, we have a custom track, which we'll talk about in a minute. So these are different contribution types. And then we also welcome for each of these types, either for extending, identifying existing benchmarks or to create a new benchmark. For each of these contribution types, we welcome contributions across different, very diverse application domains. So these include coding domains, web agents, computer use agents, research agents, software testing, and game agents, and in, for example, Web3, decentralized finance, cybersecurity agents, healthcare, finance, legal domain, and in general for agent safety, and agent security and multi-agent evaluation, and also many other domains, which I won't be able to exhaustive list here. So again, we welcome the participants to consider these different domains. So pick a domain that you are interested in, and also ideally you are familiar with. And so the registration phase has started. So for all the participants, you need to both register individually as a participant, and also the team sign up has opened as well. So we welcome you to form teams and do the team sign up as well. So that's phase one for developing the green agent, which is the assessor agent. And this will run until end of this year. And then after phase one, we'll enter phase two in early spring next year. And phase two focuses on developing the purple agent, which is the assessee agent. So in particular, after phase one, we'll select the top green agents from phase one and have participants to compete on the public leaderboards for the selected top green agents from phase one. And can you go back? So I'll also talk about the custom tracks. So in particular here, currently we have two main custom tracks. So in general, as I mentioned in the previous slide, you can, welcome to develop green agents in different domains. And in particular, thanks to the sponsors, we also have particularly two custom tracks if you are interested in these two specific areas. So one is agent security, developing essentially benchmark evaluation for red teaming and automated security testing. And this track is sponsored by Lambda, and more details will be announced soon. And the second current custom track is to extend the Tau2 bench. This is sponsored by Sierra. And you can, again, go to the website to look at the detailed information about Tau2 bench, and also more details about this custom track will be announced soon as well. Please stay tuned. And thanks to our sponsors, there's very rich resources and also prizes provided by the sponsors to the participants. So for every participant, right, you can look at the resources available here. So essentially, every participant actually, just by participating in the competition, you can get close to $500 at least worth of credits for just participating in the competition. And we also have various prizes for the winners of the competition provided by the different sponsors. And more resources and prizes will also be announced later as well. And also, please check the competition website for more details on the key dates. And yes, we hope everyone have a great time enjoying first for the phase one, building the green agent, the assessor agent. And also we have the Discord. We welcome everyone to join the Discord. So if you have more questions about the competition and agent beats and so on, please post your questions in the Discord as well.
Cool. So I guess for the next part, I'll be walking through some of the implementation details on how to use AgentBeats or integrate AgentBeats for an agent evaluation. These have like two parts. The first part, I'll be showing how in general we can identify an existing benchmark by trying to customize its interface and standardizing it towards like A2A. And for the second part, I'll be talking about how for a standardized like A2A or agentified assessment, how we can integrate it with AgentBeats to make it an object that can be used in a general agent assessment in a collaborative way. So first, there are in general 3 steps for identifying existing benchmark. Oh, by the way, feel free to scan the QR code here or go to our official website to read more about in general this example. So the first step for identifying an assessment is to try to sort out the interface. And there are 2 general principles that can be applied here. The first one, in general, just by the definition of the task, humans should be able to also solve whatever is presented to the agent with the given information. And under the assumption that it's human solvable, in general, it's recommended to make the solving procedure as agent-friendly as possible, just so that the agent can solve it easily and, in general, achieve more reasonable score. Imagine that if you can make a question to be a multi-choice problem, do not make it a slot filling or a text generation problem. And that might, in general, make the assessment more compatible. And a general example for how to examine this or how to practice these principles include, for example, in a web browsing agent, you might have the option to provide your assessee agent the URLs to access those web page, or you can follow the same paradigm as, say, the current days like in browser gene. You provide a bunch of tools for navigating through the web page and get the standardized response. And in this case, since in general, human would prefer the URL version, since you can just open it with your customized browser and use your own sort of way of like operating on a website, then it's actually recommended to organize it so that your web browsing task is actually providing a URL rather than just translating things into 2 actions. And similarly, for coding agents, there's a difference of providing the coding environment versus if you just provide a repo to be changed and expect the agents to write you the patches. And in general, if you compare to the human-related assessment, just imagine the first scenario to be you share your laptop with let's just say like a given assessee versus you just provide a public GitHub repo link and then just ask others to do PR. In this case, I think if you want to examine the agent's ability to interact with, say, the code editor, then the first way is preferred. Otherwise, the second way might be more cleanly handled. And a recommended way to sort out the interface would be try to read the original paper if you are migrating from an existing benchmark, or just think about the task formulation for the new types of benchmark. And in general, it's also recommended to read the code base if you are migrating from an existing benchmark, and think about how to actually deliver the same piece of information, but within the A2A format with minimum code intrusion as possible. So here we actually provide an example of using TALBench. And as you can probably see, the figure from the TALBench paper actually clearly present like what would be the in general interaction structure. And if you go into their code base, you will see that there's this very clear interface of environment and agent that you can extract. As long as you can separate from this layer, it's possible to actually make it A2A compatible. And specifically for this TALBench example, there remains like two key challenges for agentifying it and standardizing it with A2A. So the first is that you will have a cross-agent two-use scenario. So imagine that, so first of all, the TALBench is, just for the context, the TALBench is a two-use benchmark that the assessor will have a bunch of tools, and the assessee will be trying to use these tools to solve, like, let's say, a given problem. And in this scenario, since there are since we are agentifying it and the assessor is actually a different agent from the assessee, you should figure out a way to actually pass the tool list from the assessor to the assessee just to make sure that the assessee can respond in the expected format. And in the original repo, the tool is directly provided to the chat completion interface. So it actually doesn't need any sort of separation. But since now we want to make this compatible and standardized so that everyone can run this evaluation, we need to think about how we can pass this tool list from the assessor to assessee. And there are in general three ways. The first way being the simplest, that you just expect the participating assessee agent to have the knowledge about these tools and then just operate based on these given formats. However, this actually defeats our purpose of agentifying the assessment and also is less standardized. And the second way is to try to ask the assessor to explain the tool access request to the white agent, and then ask for what tool names that the assessee want to call. So, this is achievable, and also this is the way we use in our example. One of the potential problem is that this cannot leverage the agent internal tool call mechanism. Say, if you have like hyper planning or organization or some sort of harness regarding the tool selection, then this part cannot be properly evaluated. There's also a third way of doing this, which is to ask the green agent or the assessor agent to provide an MCP server for accessing the tool, and then just get the connection or get the URL to the assessee agent. And this being the most like general approach, there will be some like coding complexity, and also this requires the dynamic discovery ability of the assessee agent. So there are trade-offs. And also, the second challenge is that when you migrate the evaluation, the tool trace might not be directly visible to your assessor agent, thus grading can be problematic. And in general, to just make sure that you have a rather independent agentified assessment, there can be three parts. So first, you want to build the green agent or the assessor agent and the assessee agent or the white or the for different as the different participant in this multi-agent procedure. And also you would like a kickoff script which sends a message to the assessor agent to kick off the whole procedure. And later within the AgentBeats platform, this can be simplified by having a platform owned component to send this message. But just for a complete example, you might want to have this separate component. So implementation-wise, you would like a kickoff script that looks like the following. So you will try to send out this kickoff message to the green agent, and that's it. And then for implementing the green agent, what you need to essentially do is to implement an agent interface. And in this case, a coding-based workflow would actually solve the problem that it just load the corresponding environment and then issue and simulate the conversation with the assessee agent. And it might be slightly different for MCP-based implementation since you need to set up the separate MCP server, but the general workflow remains the same. And similarly, you will have a participant agent that can be very simple, as simple as just a general agent, since they are the candidate to be tested. And again, here, the purpose is that for any agent under any agent harness, you can incorporate it in a standardized test. So once you integrate, once you have made the agentified assessment and standardize your agent interface, the next step is to leverage the AgentBeats platform or the AgentBeats format to make it reproducible. And there are also some helpful materials, potentially helpful materials that may help you with this overall development procedure. So for the second part regarding how to integrate your A2A agent with the AgentBeats, so now you have the agentified assessment and also having the baseline agent and the launcher. The integration just takes 3 steps. So the first step is to wrap your agent with what we call the AgentBeats controller, which will be also discussed a little bit later. And the second is to deploy your agent to the cloud, to some sort of cloud platform to obtain a public IP as well as protected by TLS. And at the last step is to connect it to the AgentBeats platform so that others can actually leverage it for a multi-agent assessment. So for AgentBeats controller, it's actually a lightweight component that can help you manage your agent instance. It has several key responsibilities. The first, it actually exposes a service API for managing your agent state. For example, for tracking the agent liveness, restarting the agent, or checking the agent log. It also detects and start or restart your agent based on the API request. And additionally, just for the purpose of maintaining, make it friendly to a microservice sort of architecture, it also have a feature to a proxy order request that is sent to the internal agent instance. And just for human-friendly UI, also provide a management panel for both debugging and also checking the internal status. And the reason you need such a component is that other users can actually test your agent without manually restart your agent between runs, or just reach out to you to say your agent needs some state reset. So the procedure is also simple. You install the package, you set up an executable named run.sh, which in general tells the system how you would start your agent and also make that script executable. And then you run the controller from the package. And what you get is that you will have first a local management page for monitoring the agent status. You will also have a proxy URL for accessing your agent, similar to the one that is starting in your local host. And also, you can test whether this is set up by just checking the agent card. And here is an example for what you will see if you're using this controller. So essentially, you will try to manage your agent instance internally, and there's also an ongoing scaling feature that might help you to manage multiple agent instances in the future, and you can toggle reset just from the controller API. So once you have this controller, So once you have this controller, you might consider like deploy your agent with the public IP and TLS. And there are also like in general a few steps for deployment, um, including like provision of VM, also install the program, getting the certificate. And for a modern alternative, we like you might want to containerize your agent and potentially with some sort of build packs or Docker file, and also deploy it for a microservice or function calling sort of like service just for getting that TLS and also like auto scaling automatically. So the steps are also quite simple. Here's an example. So for example, you can set up the proc file and then just build with build packs and then push it to a Docker registry. And the benefit is that you don't need to manually set up HTTPS anymore, and also the management of your agent will be simpler. So the last step is to actually publish your agents on the AgentBeats platform. And once your agent is publicly accessible, others can discover it and also including it in general assessment. And the procedure is also simple. Visit the website, fill in the form, and then the key information you need to provide here is the controller URL that you set up earlier with public IP. And for a complete example, coding example of what you need to change from identified assessment to AgentBeats in integrated agent, please feel free to take a look at this code patch. And so once you have this set up, you also have next step of running the assessment and viewing the result from the AgentBeats dashboard. And we also have some advanced feature for hosting agent, etc., just to sort of like simplify the workflow. But in general, that will be the flow for integrating with the AgentBeats for agents.
Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, thanks everyone. So now you've understood the motivation for this new paradigm for agent evaluation, the agentified agent assessment, and also understand, have seen some examples of how to build the assessor agent, the green agent. So now we'll also talk a little bit about for the competition, how how the submissions will be evaluated. So first, let's look at given that we are talking about agent evaluation, then first let's look at what is a good evaluation system. So one key question is, as we develop agent evaluation, how do we make sure that it's high quality? And there are many different aspects to ensure high quality evaluations. So as I mentioned earlier, so you want the evaluation to have actually to be challenging enough so that you can actually differentiate strong models versus weak models, strong agents versus weak agents. And also we want the evaluation to be realistic. Ideally, the evaluation is more modeled after real world, useful tasks and real world settings and so on. And also the evaluation, we hope that it can actually give a very accurate assessment and with like no bias or low bias and so on. So, so there are many different aspects that one actually needs to pay attention to. So in particular here, as one example of important aspect is that you want to make sure that, as I mentioned, the evaluation, for example, your scoring function, is actually high quality. It gives correct evaluation. So outcome validity is very important for making a good evaluation. And so given that depending on the different tasks, there may be different outputs, and this will require different ways to judge the results. So depending on the tasks that you are developing, then you will need to develop appropriate methods, especially if you are building a new benchmark assessment. You need to develop appropriate judging methods. So this oftentimes depends on the different types of the apples that you need to evaluate over. For example, for text outputs, some may do string matching, and there are different things you need to be careful if you are doing, for example, substring matching. And sometimes one may do LM as a judge. However, in general, it's really important to ensure that when LM is used as a judge, it actually does provide high does actually provide high accuracy in the evaluation. And in general, especially for this competition, we do encourage participants to try to provide as much ground truth or rigorous rubrics for the evaluation as possible, instead of using as a judge, which oftentimes does not provide high enough accuracy depending on the tasks. So again, the outcome validity is a very important aspect for evaluating your green agents. So here, right, this is also another example for if you are judging code generation, then you can use different methods, including unit testing or end-to-end testing, fast testing, and so on. And you can also provide evaluation based on environment state changes for a lot of task and environments. This actually can provide a very good method for judging the outcome validity. For example, includes ground truth that actually includes all states that are achievable after success, and check for relevant and irrelevant states. Right, in general, so this is right in this case, providing good ground truth based on environment state challenges, state changes can be a very effective way of performing high quality assessments. And here are some examples to consider for judging multi-step reasoning, depending answer matching, quality measures, and so on. And also, as you build these assessor agents or green agents, it's important to pay attention to the different ways how the evaluation could go wrong. In fact, building high quality evaluation is can be very challenging. There are many different ways things can go wrong. So for example, the data can be noisy or biased. There can be data contamination issues in the sense that maybe somehow the model agents, if are using some existing tests, the model may have already seen right, the tests in training data, then this can cause data contamination. And also with agents, sometimes there can be shortcut, in which case the evaluation can be gamed. You'll be surprised how smart these agents can be that can try to take shortcuts to game the evaluation. And also, as I mentioned, ideally, the assessment benchmark should be challenging enough. And also, in particular, you want to build these evaluations that are sufficiently challenging, not just for today's models and agents, but also for you want the evaluation to have sufficiently long shelf life so that it can still remain relevant even in the coming near terms and even longer terms as well. And also, ideally, these evaluations should focus on high impact tasks and environments and be realistic and practical. And here I want to briefly mention a few case studies of some examples of good evaluation systems. And again, so when you are considering what to build for the assessor agent or the green agent, there are a number of questions to consider. In particular, what is a good benchmark and how to construct it? You need to select the initial goals. What is the goal and what do you want to evaluate? What tasks? What are the tasks and what are the environments to run the agent to achieve the goal? And how to build the data collection pipeline, how to evaluate the SSC agent. And again, you want to prioritize real world, realistic tasks, have sufficient difficulty levels, and ideally have different difficulty levels, and not easy to get contaminated or saturated. Here are some examples that I just want to briefly mention. So CyberGym is actually our recent work as a benchmark to evaluate AI capabilities in cybersecurity, in particular for evaluating agents' capabilities in identifying vulnerabilities, both previously known vulnerabilities as well as previously unknown vulnerabilities, and also generating what's called a POC, proof of concepts. These are inputs that actually trigger the vulnerability. And CyberGym actually was started with a goal to be realistic. And in particular, actually, it contains close to 200 large-scale, widely distributed real-world open source software that contains over 1,500 previously known vulnerabilities. And CyberGym is constructed using well-constructed environments that are containerized sandboxes to run these programs. And CyberGym actually has, as a benchmark, has demonstrated that the AI capabilities in cybersecurity has been improving really fast, and also has been included in Anthropic's system card for its latest model release, Sonnet 4.5, for evaluation of AI capabilities in cybersecurity. And you can find out more information about CyberGym and how it's constructed on the CyberGym website and in the paper. And as an example, in the paper, it actually performs data contamination analysis to show that there is minimum data contamination issues that need to be concerned in this benchmark. And also, CyberGym construction focuses on high quality evaluation that actually has high quality ground truth built into the evaluation through the use of runtime sanitizers, which actually gives ground truth results to show that whether the constructed input is an actual POC that triggers vulnerability, and also separates out whether it triggers a previously known vulnerability versus a new vulnerability. So that's the CyberGym. Here's another example for Tall Bench, which actually Xiaoyuan just did a walkthrough in terms of how to identify Tall Bench as assessor agents. And so again, yeah, welcome to look at the details of Tall Bench in the Tall Bench paper, as well as the open source benchmark. As an example, Tall Bench provides a very good example benchmark for computer use agents that actually covers a fairly diverse different types of environments for different types of tasks. And again, you can, given interest of time, we won't go through the details. You are welcome to go into detail to look at the construction of Tall Bench and how it is evaluated, where it actually provides different metrics for evaluation as well. And I also wanted to quickly mention the Tau2 bench, which is a next generation from Tau bench, which includes more dynamic interaction between users and the agents. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we have a custom track for Tau2 bench. And again, you can look at the Tau2 bench paper and the open source repo for more information. And right. And then there are some other examples that you can take a look as well, such as the GTP Val and also CRM Arena. So these are all very interesting examples to take a look. And then I want to just quickly conclude by talking about then what are the judging criteria that you need to consider as you build these two different types of assessor agents or green agents. As I mentioned, there are two contribution types. One is to integrate and identify an existing benchmark. The other one is to build a new benchmark. So the first one is to integrate and identify existing benchmark. On the competition website, there are links, again, as we showed earlier, that you can look at example ideas for existing benchmarks that you can identify and extend. And in general, the workflow goes as following. So you want to identify the existing benchmark that you are interested in extending and identifying. And then you want to then essentially follow the kind of steps that Xiaoyuan has mentioned through his examples with the Tau bench. That you want to then identify the benchmark and build the assessor agents by following the similar steps as what Xiaoyuan showed. And also after that, we also strongly recommend you to, even though there's an existing benchmark, a lot of the existing benchmarks, they do have quality issues and so on. So we do strongly recommend you to also investigate and do your own quality analysis for the existing benchmark that you selected. And when you encounter issues, to then take the next step to ideally help correct some of these issues and potentially even further expand the existing benchmark as well. So for the benchmark quality analysis, you can do it through several different methods. You can do it through manual validation to sample and check data correctness, clarity, and difficulty. You can check the evaluator to confirm for metrics and also the judges that actually do align with the true task success, and also analyze for bias and contamination and other potential issues and limitations as well. And then once you identify issues in these existing benchmarks, you can try to correct the benchmark if there are errors, and also you can try to expand the benchmark to further improve its quality, size, and diversity as you see fit. And in terms of identifying issues and correcting issues, so this is a very good example for you to take a look. So there's the original Sui bench, which provided very good starting points, but had a number of issues. And later on, with the Sui bench verified, later on, people corrected, identified issues and corrected them. And so now, in general, Sui bench verified is actually more widely used now for as the evaluation for coding agents. So that's the first type for extending and identifying existing benchmark. As I mentioned, the second contribution type is to build your own like new benchmarks. And in particular, in this case, you want to identify realistic tasks. You want to first identify what task you want to, and the environments that you want to evaluate, build your benchmarks in. And ideally, you want to develop tasks that actually reflect useful real-world scenarios. And it's even better if it's domains that you are familiar with, and even tasks from your like regular workload and so on. And for the evaluation, you can develop different methods, either with ground truth, with the manual developed ground truth, or you can have some semi-automatic or automatic methods as well. And also, so now we are seeing more and more multi-agents being developed as well. So we do encourage you to build multi-agent benchmarks as well. So here's a quick step-by-step checklist for building your assessor agent or green agent. Make sure that you choose the task you want to evaluate on and design the environment that the agents are being tested need to run in. And this includes providing the set of tools that the agent can interact with, the agents that the agent can, the actions that the agent can take, and also the environment feedback to the agent after each action. And also then design the metrics that your green agents will evaluate with. For example, in this booking ticket setting, the success rate for booking tickets, how cheap the ticket is, whether the ticket satisfies the user's requirements, and so on. And then you need to design the test cases to evaluate your green agent. You need to think about the different scenarios of your purple agents, trying to complete the tasks, and design the various test cases to evaluate your green agents that can handle the different test cases where different purple agents will try to be evaluated by the green agents. And also, I want to mention that in general, top AI machine learning conferences now have datasets, benchmark tracks. So for example, this is the NeurIPS, the top deep learning conference, top AI conference for year 2025. This will happen in December, and it's a call for paper for datasets and benchmarks. So ICML also has its dataset benchmark track that actually with the deadline in January. So if you build your assessor or green agents, you can, it's also can be helpful that you can consider the work later on. You can submit the work to these conferences as well. And also we do plan to offer certain example tasks and evaluations. So for people who are interested, you can join as well and potentially even co-author papers as well. So finally, for judging criteria, when you are building your assessor agent or green agents, there are a number of aspects to keep in mind. Later on, we'll provide more details for the judging criteria, but these are in general the different aspects that you can keep in mind. So this is an example list of different aspects for you to consider for building new benchmarks for the judging criteria. For example, goal and novelty is your benchmark important novel and covers new capability space. And how is the scope and scale? Is the benchmark large and diverse enough to give reliable results? Evaluator quality, metrics clear. Is your judge or evaluator high quality and consistent? For validation, did you perform manual checks or spot validation on the evaluation outputs from your green agents? For reliability, do your evaluation scripts and green agents run robustly on AgentBeats? And quality assurance, any bias or contamination checks that you have done? And realism, is the benchmark realistic, for example, with real-world workloads instead of toy or unrealistic settings? And impact, is the benchmark reusable, well-documented, and presented clearly? And then similarly, there are similar aspects for the judging criteria when you are extending and identifying an existing benchmark as well. So here, in addition to successfully identifying the existing benchmark, you also want to analyze for quality issues for the original benchmark that you extended and try to find whether it has any issues, flaws. And for faithfulness, ACR implementation reproducing results from the original benchmark excluding the flaws that you fixed. Quality assurance is your implementation correcting the flaws in the original benchmark and expanding the coverage of the original benchmark. And evaluator quality and validation, reliability, and these are similar aspects that I mentioned in the previous slide as well. And also impact is your implementation, reusable, well documented, and presented clearly. So I think that's all. So thanks everyone for joining the for joining this presentation. So now we also open up for some Q&A, and Xiaoyan will help answer questions as well.
So shall I go through, I guess, like some of the questions that is previously, yeah, I guess I'll probably just start from those. Well, in the meantime, please feel free to send more questions or in the chat. So there was this question for does this mean A2A and MCP need to be a part of agentic flow in order for AAA to work? In general, the A2A is used for communicating. Think of it as the interface we incorporate for doing task management. Instead of just setting up like a customized one, like yet another standard, we're just using A2A based on its like data format and way of like managing tasks. And similarly, for 2U, since MCP is already sort of a common protocol for everyone, we are just leveraging that for Green Agent to provide necessary tools for agents to interact. Yeah, so there's also a second question that where's the assessor is coming from, agent is coming from? Is it available somewhere or need to be written along with other agent? Yeah, great question. So the assessor agent or the green agent is actually the main deliverable for the first phase. That means that, so first of all, it's equivalent to designing a new assessor agent is essentially designing a new benchmark. But also like along with the standardized interface and also like reproducible sort of ability that so yes, like it should be coming from, I guess, like the submission for come as the submission for this competition. And I'm also gonna go through some questions from other channel. You will not provide any API for white purple agent to use for testing it with our green agent. So we are not providing a standardized white agent. Is currently like most modern agent framework do have their A2A support, and in general, feel free to use those or the off-the-shelf example as the general green agent to test against your target. In general, a good green agent, a good design like assessor agent should be able to be general enough to test any general assessee agent. However, well, that being said, we also recommend you to also build a better baseline assessee agent separately, just to demonstrate that your for certain improved agent that your benchmark or your assessor agent can distinguish them and actually measure the ability. For example, if you're building a web browsing agent, a web browsing environment for like a web browsing green agent, then potentially you might want to use or incorporate other like agents with web browsing tools or with web browsing ability, either from a visual version or a text version, or a visual input or a text input to provide more baselines. So there was also a question about some current, I would say, like difficulty in using the website. There will be so first of all, there will be a different a different set of UIs and the upgraded version of the website for the official submission for this competition. So I would personally recommend to start with the agentified example or the tail bench example for agentifying the benchmark first. And then in terms of integration, we'll have like a new blog coming really soon, perhaps like within a week to help provide more information. Thanks. Another question from chat. How large do you expect the uh, benchmark to be, given that maybe there's only limited budget? So great question. Um, so I'll start by, I guess, like answering this part. Um, so essentially, I think like the size of the benchmark is determined by two factors. So first, of course, the budget, and second is also the investigation scope. It's not always the case that the benchmark is as large as possible. I think as long as it is of a size that can truly do like a correct management in a rather stable format, and also sort of successfully support your evaluation target, then that should be fine. For example, just in general for uh, like a web browsing benchmark, depending on whether you are testing, say, a general web browsing ability, or say if you are just testing for BI related like website, or for let's just say like commercial or for like in the financial or medical setting sort of like website, depending on like the problem for scope, I think as long as the size of the data set properly support that scope, it should be fine. Um, and another question is how the final assessment will be done, as there are two assessments based on green agent and purple agent. So I guess like the standard will be provided on the for two-phase like on the like more on our official website. In general, those will be like assessment. They'll be like like assessed as like different tracks and assessed separately. Another question is, how can we extensively test our green agent with LM API limitations? Um, I see. So in terms of API limitations, so I would encourage to explore first of all like different I guess like API platforms, and also in general this I think this sort of go in line with the previous question on the budget for creating the benchmark, that I think the purpose is rather just a complete benchmark under the scope rather than just uh, I would say like make it as large or make it as uh, like let's just say repeat the experiment multiple times as more as possible. So there are some like I guess like in general public resource for getting more API requests from different I guess like LM API provider. But in general, just I guess the principle here is design the experiment more carefully and also just look out for more resource. Yeah. Another question from the chat that do we encourage a new benchmark or identifying existing benchmark? I think they'll be measured as first of all, this will be measured under different tracks. So we in general like encourage both of them, as like both of them will be significantly contributing a rather standardized agent evaluation future. And overall, the assessment will be made or the will be made based on both the effort and also the final outcome for the benchmark. Say for example, there are some like currently there are some like benchmarks that are originally quite simple but non-standardized. If you can really make them like really general, really flexible for different types of like agent, and also provide let's just say like a logging interface or some like helpful agent separation that could potentially lead to very interesting findings or very high utility, then those will be like also significant contribution and counted in the general assessment. And also for new benchmark is the same story. Like it doesn't have to be marking the previous question. It doesn't have to be super large. And as long as it's like novel and satisfy like most of the criteria that is mentioned in the earlier part of this info session, then yeah, it should be like a good candidate for submission. Okay, here's another question. So why is the evaluator called an agent? Won't it be just an LM evaluator, not LM agent? Good question. So actually, one of the core part for AgentBeats is that we are treating we are trying to unify the abstraction here by also making the evaluator, or what we call the assessor, an agent entity. And in this way, they actually follow the same set of interface as a general agent based on A2A. So you can actually manage the think of it as the following. You can manage the benchmark the same way as you might manage agent themselves. And that will actually simplify the system development as well as just conceptually a lot. And here, I do want to note that the evaluators or the assessors is not necessarily driven by LLM. So they might be agent, but more towards the, I guess, original concept of like agency reinforcement learning, that it would react to the environment, which is also like the platform for the request for evaluating other agent. And it's not necessarily driven, or at least like for this like assessor agent, is not necessarily driven by LLM. However, I also do want to point out that most of the, a significant amount of recent agent evaluation is based on LLM as a judge, which means that the LLM component is already somehow within the evaluation procedure. And under this assumption, we are seeing that in the future, more and more agents will be judged by or evaluated by other agents, and thus we are making the concept or the abstraction to be consistent at this stage. And for the questions, please feel free to leave them in the Discord channel, which is the preferred channel. Thank you. Oh, and for the second part of the earlier question, yes, there will be LM evaluator, and there will also be the there will be the evaluator agents, thus they are also evaluators. Okay, so given the time reason, thanks for the wonderful questions, and we'll be wrapping up here. For more questions, please feel free to leave them in Discord, and we'll be replying in a synchronous manner later. Thank you all again for joining today's session, and hope you had fun. Have fun in building your next agent evaluation. Thank you.